Hey, it's Baja Nicole with another episode of Your LexPD. We are in Season 2, Episode 2. We're going to be talking with the Victims Advocacy Program that's under the Special Victims section here at the Lexington Police Department.
Yeah, and it's such a great program. A lot of times when we're talking about law enforcement, you think about solving crimes, you think about officers responding to crimes, but sometimes we forget about the fact that there are victims' families out there that have to navigate their way through the system after the fact, and we don't want to forget about them.
No, we don't.
We want to take care of them, and so this month we're going to spend some time talking with them, see what kind of programs and resources are out there. So let's go talk to the Victims Advocate Program.
All right. Hi, we are here with Miss Letitia Hagerman and Miss Cornetta Harris.
And they are with the Victims Advocate Program with the Special Victims section.
Thank you all for joining us.
So law enforcement, many times when we think of that, we think of solving the crimes, responding to the crimes, the detectives solving the crimes, but we don't think about the victims. And we don't think about the victims' families. So obviously that's very important and something that the Lexington Police Department is extremely committed to work with and help these folks. So give us some examples of ways that this program helps those victims and families.
So a lot of what we do, what we're talking about here is the follow-up, okay? So if you have had to have police to your home or someone has had to call police to your home, we already know that you have survived a traumatic event. And it's very natural and normal to wonder, what do I do now? What happens next? What can I do to keep myself safe? What are my rights? And so that's where we come in, and we will reach out and contact by phone primarily, but also in person too as well, any survivors of an intimate partner violence, interpersonal violence, or any violent crime as well. And just let them know what the next steps are in prosecution. We can register them with VINE to be notified if their offender is released from custody. Let them know when their next court date is. All victims, thanks to Marcy's Law, have the right to be notified in a timely manner of court proceedings, as well as attend those court proceedings. So we call and let people know what their rights are as a survivor of a violent crime in Lexington.
And you hear people talk about Marcy's Law more now, obviously, so that's really one of the major components of that is the notification process.
It is. Marcy's Law made victims' rights in Kentucky a constitutional law. And so victims and survivors have the right to be heard in court proceedings involving their offenders. Right. We work with every unit, every section of the police department. But if you are a survivor of an intimate partner violence crime, or we're talking about a crime against a child, you are also going to get assigned a detective who is highly trained, trauma-informed, victim-centered, and is also going to follow up with you as well. So all of our detectives in our unit are also very well trained. They're like advocates as well. So it is very much a team effort between us and the detectives to make sure that anybody who has survived a violent crime in Fayette County, especially when we're talking about domestic violence or interpersonal violence, is going to be very well taken care of.
So it's more than just the justice of getting the crime through the court system. It's about helping those victims all the way along.
Very much so, and in a lot of cases the investigation is still ongoing. If the patrol officer could not make an arrest due to various reasons at the scene, there's going to be a detective that's going to follow up and take those next steps and go above and beyond for that victim. And every single one of our detectives in the Special Victims section does that.
And I've heard you say before that Lexington, and I think I've heard you say it too, that Lexington is very resource rich and that's really what you all do is kind of put people in touch with those resources. And what are some of those resources?
So we are extremely fortunate in Fayette County to be partnered with a lot of our outside agencies. A lot of what we do is referral based. So our job is to make sure that victims and survivors get connected to resources to get help and get the next steps. We're very fortunate to have Stephanie Theakston in our Domestic and Sexual Violence Prevention Coalition board. We are a member there, and she provides us with resources for survivors of domestic violence to help them with their next steps, like providing them with security equipment and things that they might need to feel safer in their home. We're also very fortunate to be partnered with Divine Karama and One Lexington, and so he helps us provide access to programs and counseling and support for families who have survived an incident in Fayette County involving gun violence. So it's a huge program what he's doing there. We work very closely with the other advocates at the county attorney's office as well as the Commonwealth, so that the survivor has a streamline from the arrest to prosecution. And so hopefully the process for them is a little easier given what they have survived.
Okay. Now, does your program refer the victims to these, or can they reach out and call them, or does it have to?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's a little bit of both. We communicate weekly with the county attorney's office.
It's basically just communication to let them know what we've done with the victim, just so that, because a lot of times victims, they may tell us one thing, but then tell them another thing. So it's just a way of communicating to see kind of just where we're going with that person. So.
Kind of keep everybody in the loop.
Exactly.
So how would someone get in contact with you all?
With the passing of Marcy's Law, with there being the four of us, we try to assign an advocate to as many case reports every single day as we possibly can. So ideally, if you're a victim of a violent crime in Fayette County, you shouldn't have to do anything. We will reach out to you. But if you need us, if you have a follow-up question, if there's anything we can do to help you, you can call 258-3700 and ask to speak to one of us.
So it's more than just resources, right? And I've heard you all talk about this before, and the Lexington Police Department obviously is very committed to this, that sometimes people just need to, when they're a victim or a victim's family, sometimes they just need to ask questions, they need to have answers. But I've heard you say before that sometimes they just need someone there for them.
Yes, that's a very good point. Sometimes we're not going to make a referral. Sometimes we're not going to provide certain things. Sometimes what anybody might need after surviving a tragic situation is just somebody to talk to. And that seems like a small thing, but it's incredibly valuable. It's incredibly valuable to have somebody to talk to. You've just survived a violent crime and you just want to talk it out with somebody, and we do that day in and day out, every day. We sometimes have communication with survivors. We no longer are working their case, but they still call and check in.
And a lot of times too, and like Tisha was saying, just to kind of feed off of her, is that it may not be a referral base, because there's a lot of times that victims will also come into like the lobby and want to speak to us, and it's just a matter of, just like you said, just listening and just hearing them out. And it may not be an actual referral that we get. So a lot of times we get individuals from just that may not be a referral to us, and they'll call us from downstairs and say, hey, so and so is here. Can you speak to this person? Provide them with victim services, and we make ourselves available for that as well.
Awesome. Well, we thank you all for joining us today, and I've learned a lot more about the Victims Advocate Program.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you for
Yes,
having
no
us.
problem. Yes, you are very welcome.
Hello, we are here with Ms. Robin Anderson and Marisol Contreras. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So you all also work with the Victims Advocates Program.
Yes, ma'am.
And one of the things you do is what's referred to as the SOS program. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
SOS stands for Surviving Onward Sessions, and it is for families and friends that have lost someone due to homicide. We meet the first Tuesday of every month at the Dunbar Community Center. We start with some food, little fellowship, and then typically we have a speaker every week in which we bring in from all different community agencies such as One Lexington. We have a prosecutor come from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. We bring in our robbery homicide unit, Bluegrass Care Navigators, and many more, and also kind of some of our grassroots type of services such as SWAG, which is Tanya Lindsay, who works with homicide families as well after losing her son. And it's just a way for families to come together and learn a little bit more about what our community has to offer and then find support with each other.
Now, I know you had mentioned that these are, I guess, victims of homicide deaths. What about overdose deaths?
Now we pretty much, work up every case as much as we can. And one of the new areas that we are working with is overdoses in which the person does not survive. And we will reach out to the family and just offer our condolences and let them know of any support that our community has and offer those services to them.
Awesome. So, Ms. Contreras, can you tell us about your background?
Yes, like you said, my name is Marisol Contreras. I came to the department in 2022. That was the goal of the department when they opened a position for bilingual advocate. It's in a matter of trying to help the community to make them feel safer and to make them feel comfortable coming through with reports. When I talk to the victims, I always like to explain the process or what's gonna be happening next. I let them know if another person is gonna be trying to reach out, what their role is, and why they're reaching out. Sometimes, the barrier of the language makes a big difference and impact. It can be intimidating for the person, so that's the reason why we try to provide the services in their language.
So both reporting and also following up, that's very important to have that, absolutely.
So when we were talking to Letitia and Cornetta, we were talking about, the resources. So I know being on patrol, we're familiar with some resources, Greenhouse 17 and the Nest. Can you all tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, when it comes, I'll give a little bit from when it comes, again, from the Hispanic community. We try to network with those agencies. Some of those agencies have also make efforts to have a bilingual person. So by different workshops and meetings that we attend with those agencies, we try to network. So like, let's say that I have a Hispanic person that only speaks Spanish, I'll let them know. We have these resources that are provided through a different agency, but you can reach out to this person. She also speaks Spanish. You talk to them and they should be able to help you with this. And if you have to reach out to another agency, this is what their services are, so that they have clarification on those resources.
Ms. Contreras, is there a message in Spanish that you would like to say?
Sure, yes. Mi nombre es Marisol Contreras, trabajo para el Departamento de Policía de la ciudad de Lexington. Soy la defensora de víctimas bilingüe. Trato de proveer servicios en español. Independientemente de cuál sea un reporte que usted tenga que hacer, solamente quiero que sepan que pueden llamar para hacer sus reportes a la policía. Estamos aquí para ayudarlos y ayudarlos a navegar el sistema para que se sientan conformes y más apoyados por el departamento.
Everybody here at the police department appreciates you as well. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So Baji, was really nice talking to the Victims Advocacy Program. I did not know that there was that many resources
So
for the
many
victims
resources.
and their families. So what are we going to be talking about next month?
All right, episode 3 of season 2. We're going to be talking about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. It's a program that I actually started 25 years ago and just recently turned it over to some other officers that were part of that program in their youth. It's our Explorer Post 357 for ages 14 to 21, giving them an insight and training into law enforcement. So I'm excited about that and going back a little bit and talking with some of the officers now that were part of that program when they were as young as 14 years old. So that's coming up next month.
So join us next episode on Your LexPD.